Good afternoon. This is Benjamin with ARI, your website company. And today we're going to be covering some tips and tricks on how to make your site look and function better. This will be a video in a series of 3. The first video will be improving the visuals on your site. The second will be covering organization and links. And the third video will be capturing leads. Let's get right down to it. First, let's talk about visuals. We'll start here on the home page and work through some of the parts of the header that you will need to have looking nice, prim, proper, and ready for action. Now, for anybody that's not familiar with the term header, what do I mean? Well, I mean all of the information that's from the top of your screen here all the way down to beneath the primary navigation here, this black line that you see. So let's talk about it. First things first, your logo. Here's some questions you might want to ask. Is the logo picture clear? Is it pixelated? Is it big enough? Is the logo up to date? Do you have a newer logo for your shop that's been designed either by us or an outside designer that you'd like to replace it with? Does it have the correct placement? And what I mean by that is its placement from left to right within the header's bounds. Is that where you want to have it? I have seen some sites in the past that kind of break the rules and have their logo in the middle or all the way over to the right. Depends on what you want to do. And another thing is, does your logo blend in with the background or does it stand out? If you want it to blend into the background, you probably don't want to have a white surround around the logo like mine has. You'll probably want it to blend in. However, if you do want it to stand out, like the one I have up here, you may want to consider in the image you provide us to replace to simply have a white border around your image. Next, let's move on to your address. Is the text clear? Is it really easily readable by anyone from the young all the way up to the old? So is the text large enough? Is it a good font? Is it a good color? Once again, do you want it placed there? Or do you want it all the way over to the left? Or all the way over to the right? The choice is yours. Then we have your search bar. Now, the search bar area is comprised of a couple different things. You have your dedicated Maps and Hours button, which leads your customers to your map of where you're located and your open and closed business hours. You have your social media coins, like you see with the Facebook logo. And you have the actual search bar with that gray hint of what people can type in there. Now, with the search bar, do you like the Maps and Hours text? Do you even want the Map and Hours text? Something for you to think about. For the social media coins, for a majority of the sites that we have built out, they're either going to be above the search bar or over to the left. I have seen very few with the social media coins underneath. Are the social media coins good looking? Once again, do you want them to stand out? Do you want them to blend in? Do you want them to be a different type of logo? Instead of a black and white scheme like I have, do you want it to be the full color Facebook F? Things to think about. As far as the hint, it can be changed. You absolutely can. In the editor, you can change that particular hint to whatever you want. So instead of search for vehicles and equipment, you could say, find your vehicle today, or something more ostentatious if you want. Next is your primary navigation. First, let's talk about order. Now, when a human being looks at a website, for the most part, they read in a Z pattern. So that means they go from the left to the right, and as soon as they get all the way to the right, they kind of go diagonal, and then that pattern again. And that is the path that their eyes take. So the thing that you want to draw the most attention to should be over all the way to the left. Now, classically, this is the order that you would see 75 to 80% of the sites on the internet out there. However, if you want to be different, you could take, let's say, service. You want to draw really a lot of attention to it. You could move it over in the place of home. Now that goes for the parent links that you see here immediately when the site first loads. This also refers to all of the child pages as well. The child pages being all of these drop downs that you see. If there is a particular dropdown, like let's say you want to take the pre-owned and your majority of sales for inventory in stock is pre-owned, you could certainly move that up further. Now, the next section, this is referred to as the hero shot section. First, you may or may not have welcome text. The welcome text that you see within the hero shot is where it says, "Welcome to Ben's Power Sports." Now, if you don't have this and you want it, that's something that could be added on. You don't like the text that's there and actually what it says, that can be changed. You don't like the font or the color of the font, that is something that could be changed by you in the editor. Your offers, or referred to as the offer rotator, or you may hear them referred to as merch slides. All of them can be used to be talking about this element. Now, for these offers, you have a few different choices. You can have them all the way over to the left, all the way over to the right. You can have them centered. And then also, if you really wanted to draw more attention to these offers, you could have it take up the entire screen from left to right and fill the entire hero shot area with that advertisement. It just purely depends on what you want. Next, let's talk about CTAs. Again, you've got a lot of customization that you can do in the editor. You don't like the order in which these CTAs appear? Sure, click, drag, and drop within the editor to go ahead and change the order of them. You don't like the background pictures? You can change those too. You don't like the font or what it actually says there? You don't like the color of the font, anything like that? You can change that too. Then you have your product groups. Your product groups, you can name them whatever you want. You can set the specific order of vehicles in this product group that appear here on the home page for both of these. And let's say that you wanted this Hot Buys motorcycles to be above the used Yamaha. You do have the ability to click and drag within the editor to pull those up. Your logo bar, you don't like the logos that are here and you want to put in your own. Well, we have a standard that we must abide by, and we must have the newest form of a logo that we get supplied from the manufacturer to us. However, if it is a brand that we don't carry, you can add in your own custom logo to this area and have it link wherever you want. I believe that I still have a custom logo in here. Let's go ahead and take a look. All right, looks like my custom logo got removed. But the fact is, you can put in your own custom logo, link it to units or wherever else you want to on the site, and rearrange the order. So let's say you want to order it from most popular brand to least over on the right, you can. This paragraph, now obviously you can edit in the editor the grammar, spelling, add in pictures, hyperlinks, YouTube videos, all of that. You don't like the arrangement of the paragraph? You can take this particular chunk or element of the page and move it further up or further down. Or if you do not want to have a welcome paragraph on the home page, you do not have to. However, that leads to mixed results as far as Google being able to find you and set yourself apart from other businesses available in a basic Google search in your area. And finally, we have the footer. Now the footer is broken down into similar pieces as your header. You have your contact us information. You have your social media coins, as I call them. You have your hours. You have an active map. And you have the available promotions. You want to rearrange the order of any of these? You can. You don't want a particular one of these in your footer? You don't have to. For instance, one of the dealers I was just working with goes, you know what? I sell all of my own parts made in-house. Yes, I can get things from Honda, MTD, Cub Cadet, and other brands, but I don't really want to advertise that. So can we just remove that available promotions out of there completely? Yes, we do have the ability upon request to hide that particular area for you. Now, we've got all the basic terminology down. We've got some of the changes that you can do. Let's first jump into the header and talk about how you would go through and change some of these. Now, the logo, I would primarily leave that to either your implementation specialist if your site is not live, or if your site is live, your account manager. Now, one thing that I will tell you when talking to our staff and asking for changes, be very, very specific of what you want. Let's say you're like, you know what? I have a brand new logo for Ben's Power Sports, but you know what? I don't like the size of the current one. Can we make it 32% larger? That's a good example. Also, you know what? Can we take that photo and black out the background so that it better fades in with this slightly gray color that we have in the background? Can we make the logo transparent so that the hero shot we have back here appears behind that logo? Yes. The address that you have in here. Obviously, you can change your address, you want it to be accurate. You can change your phone number, all of that. But you can also do things like change how the text looks within layouts. You can go into the header layout, go into the specific element, and change the way that it looks. You can do the same for your search bar area and your navigation. Let's jump into the editor and start going over some specifics. First, let's talk about that address. Now, obviously, to change your address, the actual text that's there, you'd go into Store and into Locations, and it's your very first tab that pulls up. And if you wanted to change your address, that is right here. But let's say you're like, you know what, Ben? The address is fine, but I want to change the font, and I also want to change where it's located. How do I do that? Sure. Jump back to your dashboard. After you get back to your dashboard, you're going to go down to a box labeled Sites. There is our Sites. Now, let's go into Layouts. Now let's go to our home page layout. And just like I was talking about before, you do have that header. Let's expand the header. Now, to change the typography, in other words, to change the text font, to change the color, and to change the size and spacing of the font and in between sentences, go to the header area that you see right here, go all the way over to the right, and click on this number 2 pencil. You can go down to Typography, and you can see, as I've already done, I've chose a custom color, a custom font, chose the font size, font weight, everything. Now let's say you want a specific color in the background, a specific picture, or you want a gradient where it transitions from one color over to another. You can do that too. Jump into background settings, and there you have it. Now, for moving elements around, for the header, there is not a way to drag and drop, as I previously been informed. So if you do want to take the elements that are in here and let's say plop the address over here and plop your logo in the middle, that is something that you will have to request of either your implementation specialist or your account manager. But if you simply want to take the height of this and adjust it, we have some presets that you can choose from. Let's take a look. We'll go back to our layouts. Now I've gone through and expanded the header all the way out, and now you can see header C. We'll click on it, and in the options that come up, let's go with Edit Configuration. And now you can see you have some different choices, header A, B, C, D, and E. In the text beneath each one of these, it clearly explains the differences visually between all of them. Next, let's go and talk about working with this navigation. Now, let's say you do want to be a bit of a rebel and you want to take this new models, and that is your big sale Basically, your bread and butter of your business is selling new models. You want to draw the most attention to that. Well, you could click and drag that in place of home and simply switch home over one to the right. Sure. Jump over to your editor. After you've gone into Site, you'll go into Navigation. Now, the navigation tool is a really easy tool to use. It's only essentially got two parts. You have your parent links and your child links. Your parent links are the links that appear at the top of the page when your site first loads before you hover over that parent link, and that is when the child links drop down. So for instance, let's say we just wanted to switch the home and new models. Sure, take the home link that you have, drag it down beneath new models, and if I was to hit save, and then go up to my business name, click on publish, we'll jump back to our site and refresh, and you can see that home and new models has been effectively switched. It's as easy as that. You can do the same type of modification, just clicking and dragging for all of those child pages. Now let's say you have a child page that you want to make a parent. Simply click and drag over to the far over to the left and drop. When you do, it will become its own parent. Now we need that to become back to a child, so let's drag it underneath new models. We'll drag it in a little bit, and when it snaps back, it's back to being a child page. You can do the exact opposite for the parent pages that you want to become child pages. And of course, for new parent links, you're going to use the new navigation up top. And for the new child links, you'll go to a current parent and hit plus child, and a blank child will come up that you can fill in. The first thing that we'll talk about is changing the hint that is in your search bar at the top of the page. And the second thing we'll talk about is converting these offers, or what you may hear called merchandising slides, to go from this condensed view to filling the entire area that we see underneath our parent navigation, all the way down to our CTAs. First, let's start with the hint that is in that search bar. For that, we'll jump back to our editor. In our left-hand menu, we'll go to Configuration, and then down to the third to last option, Search Configuration. Once the Search Configuration page loads, scroll about 3/4 of the way down the page until you see a heading that says Search Types. Now you have 3 different search types on a conventional site of ours. You have the inventory, which is searchable anywhere on the home page or within your inventory listings. You have the products, which are your e-commerce products that people can look at and buy on the site, like parts, clothing, accessories. And then if you have the fitment tool turned on your site, this is where you would change the hint for that. Let's go ahead and expand all these so it's a little bit clearer. We'll go show, show, and show. Now we can see that it says right now, search for equipment. Let's go ahead and change that to something a bit more flashy, shall we? Search for your dream machine. And let's add an exclamation point to it just for the heck of it. Now we'll go down, click save. Once that save has gone through, which it looks like it has, we'll go into the upper right corner, click on the name of our business, and run that publish changes. There is our success stamp. We'll jump back to our website and refresh the page. When we do, that hint that is in that search bar should change. And now we have search for dream machine, or search for your dream machine, rather. Now let's talk about taking these offers and expanding them to the full screen width. We'll jump back to our editor, back to our dashboard. Once we are back to our dashboard, we're going to go down to a box labeled Sites. Now that we are back on the dashboard, we'll scroll down in this first column that we have, look for our box labeled Sites, and then within Sites, we'll click on Layouts. Now those offers are on our home page layout, so we'll click on Home Page. Then we'll go down to the hero shot area where those offers are located. We can see that the third element in here is offer rotator. And currently you can see with the way that it is formatted, the offer is set to be the condensed view and in the center. If we'd like to change that, go up here to this tool next to the number 2 pencil, click here, and let's change it to be full width. Perfect. Now, we'll go down, click on Publish Appearance Settings. There we are. And we'll click on the name of our business and run that Publish Changes. There's our success stamp. We'll jump back to our website, refresh our website, and as soon as we do, those offers should be full width. Now, personally, I don't like this. On this particular page, it just doesn't work. It covers up too much of the very nice high-resolution image we have of this guy riding this Yamaha sled in the background. And for some of the custom offers that I have made myself, such as this one and this one, even though I used very large high-resolution images, they don't look so great. They're a bit choppy, blurry, not so great. So it's not a good fit for this site. But I encourage you to experiment and see for yourself. The next thing that we'll cover is how to make modifications to the CTA section that you see here. We'll be training on how to do things like change out the background image on each one of these CTAs, change the text that you see in the initial image, and what you see in the pop-up animation section of the image. And of course, if you want to flip-flop the order of any of these, how to do so as well. For this, we'll jump back to your editor. We're already on our dashboard, so we'll simply scroll down until we see that box labeled Sites. Within Sites, we'll click on Layouts. Once we get into Layouts, we'll click on the Home Page Layout. We'll go down to the CTAs section and open it up all the way. And here we can see our 3 CTAs. Now let's start with the basics. Let's say that you want to flip-flop the order, like having the in-stock over to the left. Sure, click, drag, and drop. And now that's in a different order. Now let's say that you wanted to go in and change the actual text, what it says, on either the initial part of the CTA that you see or the pop-up animation. Sure, click on the actual CTA gray bar that you see, and we'll go into Edit Configuration. Now the initial title is what you're going to see on top of the image in that red before you actually move your mouse over it and it performs that animation. And then your description is what you will see in that black portion that pops up in that CTA image. Your background image, to change it, is here, so we'll click on File Picker. Now if you go to change out the image for your CTA, what you're going to want to do is you are going to want to use an image of roughly the same size as the last CTA that you have. So for instance, I think in here we have an adapted CTA image. Yes, we do. Right here we have this engine. Now this is for the services one, but no matter. The idea is if you were going to replace this engine with another image, you would first want to modify it so that it's roughly the same size as this one. And if we click on this one, we can see that the size of this image is 500 by 576. Now, if you just want to drop the image in here and either crop or resize it after the fact, you can do so. And the idea is you would choose your image. The image that appears down here as a thumbnail will be the one that it replaces it with when you click on Choose Selected. You have 3 different CTA styles that you can mess with. CTA 1 is currently the one that I'm on. It uses a center single image. It has the initial text, the title that you see, and the description. CTA 2, the initial description, or excuse me, the initial title would be on the center of the image, and this description would be on the actual physical button. And then CTA 3, both the background image and these 2 groups of text would become a button. The only one that would be clickable would be the actual in-stock inventory. So basically what I'm saying is if you don't like the current style that you're on, feel free to experiment with the other two styles that are available. We'll go ahead and jump back a page. Now next, let's say, you know what, the text that's in there looks good, but I do not like the font, and I do not like the font color. How do I change that? Well, we'll pop into CTAs once again. We'll click on this first CTA, but instead of going to Edit Configuration, we'll go to Edit Style Settings. We'll go down to Title Settings, and you can see that I've chosen a custom color, which is simply red. I've defined that I want a custom font family, Open Sans, size 23, font weight, how I want the text to justify, left, right, or center. I want it to be underlined. And I want the line height in between the lines of text, should it be a paragraph, to be a +1 spacing, which just means that it is one enter press over that of stock text. We'll hit close, or excuse me, rather, you have the same thing that you can do for the description settings, and then you have your hover and position. There's quite a few different animations that you can choose when your customer hovers over it, what you want it to look like. Let's go ahead and check these out real quick. You can see that you've got a ton of different options, and they all do different things. And then you have your animation settings. Use this one with caution. You can set your CTA to fade in from the right, left, top, bottom, and you can set the actual delay in between the site initially loading and that animation taking place. I would say, if at all you can help it, do not use an animation because it's simply distracting, and if the customer is on a slow internet connection, sometimes it can delay or mess up the actual visuals on your site. We'll close this out. And that's the generals of how to go through and work with our CTAs. Now, let's say that you wanted to change the background color of the box that is behind our CTAs. You can do that as well. We'll jump back to here. We'll go to the top CTAs bar and click on the number 2 pencil. Go to background settings, and you can see that I've set it as a gradient, and I've selected 2 colors. The initial one is a blue-gray, and the second one is a light sky blue. I've chosen it to fade horizontally from left to right, and there you have it. Pretty simple. You can also do a solid color or an image as well, and that is chosen right here with background type. Now, the reason that you'd want to do that background behind your CTAs on the container that holds all 3 of these CTAs instead of going them one by one is because that way, if you ever have to change it, you only have to go to one place rather than 3 separate places and make the same change in 3 separate places. The next thing that we'll go over is we'll jump back over to our site and we'll skip down to our logo bar. To make changes to the logo bar, you can do quite a few things. You can have it so it scrolls like this. You can set how many are on a screen at a time. You can set it to automatically scroll if you like. And of course, you can go in and customize where each one of these logos links to on your site. And that's just the beginning of changes that you can make. There's much more. We'll jump back to our editor, back to our dashboard. Once we're back at our dashboard, we're going to go down to Sites again, but this time we're going to go into Components. And the silly way that I remember Components is it's the only one with an icon of a puzzle piece. Once we get into our components list, we're actually looking for logo bar. All of these components are in alphabetical list, so we'll scroll down to logo bar, click on logo bar, go to existing instance, go all the way to the right, and click on the green gear or cog. Now, obviously this component is called logo bar, but if you wanted to change the name to something like top brand logos, you could. I wouldn't suggest it, but you could. Number of logos to display at a time, I have it set as 4. Max logo height and width. Now, it will come with its own width. I do not remember the stock width at the moment, but these are so that you can override what that stock width and height is. If you want these logos to automatically rotate instead of having the 2 clicking arrows left and right, you can check this box. Or if you're like, you know what, I don't have time to set these up, just all the brands that I have turned on and new models, I want the logos for those brands to show up in the logo bar, and I don't want to do anything else. Well, then you can just go use top brands. Things that you can do here. Let's go ahead and do add logo. Now, if it's one of the brands that we have existing in our system, let's say that we are going to do Mercury. Sure. We'll start to type in MERC. Now, my system is a bit slow at the moment. But anyway, the idea is if it'll come up, there we are, Mercury Marine. Now, if you click on this suggestion, it's going to set the name of the logo here, and it's going to set where the logo links to, as well as the image. Now, if you want to make up your own, in other words, you type in the manufacturer here and it doesn't show up, you can set the name to wherever you want, link it to wherever on the site that you want, and actually upload your own custom logo as well. Once you get all of these set to move them around to change the order, let's say you want a specific brand to always list first. Let's say Polaris is your top seller in your area. Click, drag, and drop, and it's that easy. We'll scroll down. You do not want to mess with the component page rules or legacy section rules. Simply leave them alone. We'll hit save, and once that save has gone through, which it appears it has, we'll go ahead and publish. Now let's go ahead and go back to our home page and refresh the page. And now Polaris should be the #1 brand that's listed. So Polaris is now the #1 brand that's listed, and let's see if Mercury got added to this. And there is our Mercury Marine. Awesome. The very last section that we're going to cover, and there's not much to cover, honestly, would be your footer. Things that we're going to look at in the footer. We already know how to change our contact information. The map will be dictated by your address that you've typed in. And we can't actually change the available promotions, but if you would like us to hide it for you, because you don't want available promotions down there for some odd reason, you can request for it to be hidden. So we're going to look at how you can go through and change the background color of the footer and how to go in and put in your social media coins. So first, let's take a look at how to change the background color. We'll jump back to our editor, back to our dashboard. Once we get back to our dashboard, again, we're going to scroll down to that box labeled Sites. And within Sites, this time we're going to click on Layouts. We're going to go to, this time, Internal Page Layout. We're going to go to Footer and expand it all of the way, and you can see that we have footer B. Now to change the background color, you're going to go to the top footer and click on this #2 pencil. And if you did want to change that background color, it would be background settings. And if you want to change the text that is there, either the font or font color, that would be your typography. Now, let's go through how to set up those social media coins that will appear both in the header and in the footer. We'll jump back to our dashboard. And we're going to be going into Sites again, but this time we're going to be going into Components. We are going to be looking for a component called Social Media. There we are, Social Media. We'll click on the gear or cog, whatever you want to call it. And you can see the only social media that I have in here is Facebook. But let's say that we wanted to put in our Instagram. Sure, select Network, IN, and Instagram. You would put in your actual Instagram handle, so @ and then hit plus. Now, obviously, it's not going to work because that is not a real handle for Instagram, but you get the ideas. These social media coins, as I said, are going to show up both at the top of your website and the bottom. We'll go ahead and jump back to our dashboard. Now, before I close out this training, I just have a general message for you. #1, we are here to help. There's a common misconception that once we set your site live, you are completely on your own and good luck. No, there's several different ways in which you can get help from us, whether it's calling into tech support, getting a hold of your account manager, getting a hold of your implementation specialist if your site is not live, or reaching out to someone like myself, the lead trainer for ARI, to get help. If you've had a training with me, you most likely will have my direct contacts in the footer of that particular email or the signature line as some people call it. I would encourage you to mess with all of the elements that you have seen in this video. If you ever get into trouble and you mess up somehow the footer, header, or any of the other sections that we went through, the site loads and the visuals look completely wonked out of shape or anything like that, get a hold of us and we'll help you fix it. But remember, the only way that you're going to learn how to use these tools is to get in, do it, and break stuff. With that note, I'm going to go ahead and close out this training. Thank you so much for watching the first video in a series of 3 of tips and tricks. Have a wonderful day.